There's a big name now available in the free agency, and it creates an opportunity for the Chargers to grab him as early as possible. Let's explore this option. What's up, Chargers fans? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Chargers. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the Bolts. Jawan Bentley, Patriots team captain, a total beast on the field, is reportedly being released. This guy was instrumental for New England, though he dealt with a pectoral injury last season. That's a bummer, but it could actually work in favor of a team like the Chargers. Why? Because we know they're not about to break the bank on a signing, and this situation could give them a chance to bring in a proven veteran at a reasonable price. Now, the Chargers linebacker room isn't exactly their biggest concern. There's excitement around guys like Daiyan Henley, and you've got solid options like Troy Dye. But adding a seasoned player like Bentley could be a smart move. He'd provide some stability and experience, letting the younger players ease into bigger roles over time. Plus, having a plug-and-play guy who can step in right away makes a lot of sense from a depth perspective. It's not about fixing a major hole, but adding a layer of reliability to the defense. What do you think? Would Jawan Bentley be a good fit for the Chargers? Let me know in the comments. This could be one of those sneaky moves that pays off in a big way. You know, it's not every day you see a guy like Bentley available like this. We're talking about a team captain, a proven veteran. These opportunities don't come around often, especially after the initial wave of free agency has already passed. And here's the kicker. The Chargers are one of the teams with the most cap space right now. So the big question is, are they going to use it? Are they going to take advantage of this opportunity or let it pass by? We've talked a lot on this channel about how the Chargers are approaching free agency the right way, being smart, not overspending. But when a chance like this comes up, you've got to consider it. Why not throw him a solid one-year deal? It's low risk and could bring a big reward. Bentley's quick, experienced, and though he's coming off that pectoral injury, he's only around 28. Last season, he had 12 tackles in just 2 games before getting sidelined. Teams might hesitate, but this could be a golden opportunity for the Chargers to snag a dependable linebacker without overcommitting. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. Switching gears for a moment, Chargers fans, here's something else to think about. The upcoming draft has some real gems in the later rounds, especially at positions where the Chargers have needs. Take a guy like RJ Harvey from UCF. He's the kind of player most people aren't even talking about yet, but he's got potential. He's a compact, elusive running back. About 5 feet 8 inches, 200 pounds. The Chargers need another back to complement what they've got, and Harvey's skill set could fit perfectly. His elusiveness stands out, and he's the type of player who could surprise a lot of people. Then there's Mason Taylor, the tight end from LSU. We've talked about him before, just a really steady, reliable player. And honestly, you don't need to spend a first-round pick on a tight end. Taylor will still be there on day 2, and he could be a solid addition without reaching too high. For the interior offensive line, Donovan Jackson stands out as a prime candidate for the Chargers. This fit makes sense, and he's the kind of player who could really strengthen the line. Then there's Josaiah Stewart, another name that makes a lot of sense. And yes, we all know how Michigan players tend to catch the Chargers' attention, but in this case, it's actually justified. Now, let's talk about Stewart. He doesn't have the prototypical size you'd expect. He's about 6 feet 1 inch, 249 pounds. But that's what makes him interesting. He uses his natural leverage really well, converting power into results on the field. He's got a solid variety of moves, a strong win rate, and he's just a productive player overall. The thing is, when you watch him, he doesn't look like your typical defensive end. Defensive end is such a tricky position. It's incredibly important, but evaluating it can be a challenge. You've got these guys who look like absolute monsters. 6 feet 4, 279 pounds, straight out of Florida State, wearing something like number 11, and they just look the part. But here's the problem. Looking great doesn't always translate to production. In fact, a lot of these guys, as impressive as they seem, end up not panning out. That's where Stewart becomes intriguing. Sure, he doesn't have the ideal size or the flashy look, but he's productive, and that's what really matters. Sometimes it's better to take the player who gets the job done, even if they don't fit the traditional mold. Stewart's one of those guys who might not wow you at first glance, but his performance on the field speaks for itself. He's solid, reliable, and definitely worth considering. What do you think about Josaiah Stewart? Let me know in the comments. I really think Josaiah Stewart would be a great fit for the Chargers. And as we wrap up here, let's talk the big picture. The team has a ton of draft picks lined up, and they've been smart and calculated during free agency. That's a great combination. Here's the deal. If the Chargers hit on this draft, they're setting themselves up to be a sustained winner for years to come. Think about the Detroit Lions for a second. They've followed a similar path. They went down to the studs, rebuilt their roster, managed their cap space wisely, and nailed their drafts. Sure, they only won 3 games that first year, but they set the foundation. Fast forward to now, and the Lions have stacked up incredible draft picks. Guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and Brian Branch, just absolute game changers. And it's not just one or two players. They've got a whole group of talent that looks like it could be something special. You start asking yourself, how many of these guys might end up in the Hall of Fame one day? That's the kind of long-term success that comes from drafting well and building the right way. The Chargers are in a similar spot. This draft is critical. If they can hit on these picks like the Lions have been doing, there's no reason they can't become a sustained contender for the next 5 years or more. It's all about making smart choices now that pay off in the long run. If the Chargers don't get this draft right, it's going to be tough moving forward. That's why the focus on the draft is so critical right now. It's the foundation for long-term success, and this part of the offseason is where teams can really set themselves apart. Here's something interesting. PFF recently put out their early and late round options for every team's biggest needs. For the Chargers, it's all about finding explosive playmakers. The draft is where those weapons are found. On day one, a name like Coulson Loveland has been mentioned countless times. But here's another intriguing option. Tory Horton out of Colorado State. This guy is special. His 3.45 yards per route run ranks fourth in the entire draft class, and he's got added value as a returner. Horton tied for the most punt return touchdowns in college with 3. That kind of versatility is rare, and it makes him a fantastic option for day 3. This all ties back to the importance of having a good GM. Drafting well is key. You can be patient in free agency, but if you don't draft well, it won't matter. You can spend big in free agency, but without good draft picks, the results will fall flat. Everything starts and ends with the draft, so let's hear your thoughts. Drop it in the comments.